Hi, I'm Sharon Natali and I'm here with Matt Church. Thanks very much for your time this morning, Matt.
Oh, my pleasure.
So you spend a lot of time talking about the future, and particularly you often refer to the fact that we're in a decade of disruption.
I do.
I spend a lot of time working in the food industry, and it's an industry that's undergoing significant disruption. We know that, for example, small brands are growing sort of average 10 to 15 times as fast as the larger traditional kind of brands. So what's some of the advice that you would have for the leaders you work with in industries that are undergoing disruption?
Oh, look, I think it's a useful frame to see that we are in the decade of disruption. Whether that's true or not, who knows? If you went back to the plague, it travelled through the planet. There were 400 million people on the planet at the time, and 100 million got taken out by the plague. So that's a decade of disruption.
Yes.
But nonetheless, we're seeing the fastest growing transport business in the world owns no cars. The fastest growing, Uber of course, accommodation business, Airbnb, owns no property. And Alibaba, not something we know a lot of in Australia, but it's the world's biggest retailer. And it's bigger than eBay and Amazon combined, and it's got no inventory. So we're living in a world where Cambridge Analytics and Facebook has caused, we realise that data is the new oil, so we're in a very, very shifting dynamic world. Now, I often go, well, I suppose food, that doesn't change, does it? But of course, it's massively disruptive.
Yes.
And I'd suggest that one of the biggest trends is the educated consumer. And as a result, we've sort of moved from where people buy what we sell them, and we've seen this as a shift in advertising, to people now, because they're educated, they want to be involved in the buying process, and subsequently they're developing naturopathy. It's like Google Doctor, right? The biggest problem for doctors is that they've got to be across 22,500 conditions in the MIMS Medical Encyclopedia. But as a patient, if you said I had condition X, I'm going to Google condition X, and now I'm an educated idiot on condition X. So I try to teach people some of these shifts. And so this idea of moving from sellers to the fact that it's a buyer environment means that we've got to involve our customers in the conversation. I think the Royal Commission in Banking right now is showing another trend. And this is a trend towards radical accountability and radical transparency.
Yes.
Which is every part. And so in trucking, they've got a new regulation coming out in November this year called CORE, which is chain of responsibility. And it's basically, you can't say that wasn't my job. And that in the whole process, so it's almost like paddock to plate or from wherever, in the whole process we're all responsible for every part of what we're presenting to the world. So I love this future, I'm very optimistic about it, but it's certainly not transactional, it's certainly not command and control, and it's certainly not, I'm going to push something onto you, it's this partnership, and so there's some new games in that space.
Yes, and so transparency is a big deal in the food industry. It's one way that we earn trust with consumers.
Yeah.
One of the things that you say in your book Next is about the balance between standing out and fitting in. And so one of the business as usual models in food is to go out and ask people what they want and then respond to what they want. So you've just kind of talked about that's important to involve people, but how do you get that balance between responding to what people want and then also standing out and leading through disruption?
It's amazing, isn't it? It's like Henry Ford once said, if I'd asked them what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And I'm of a generation, I graduated to Prince music. I had a flock of seagulls haircut, whether you can believe that or not. And I used to drink West Coast coolers. I'm still looking for them if anyone knows where they are. And the thing that I guess the world has changed dramatically since then, and I think that it is in this customer experience. So customer service is there's an evolution, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, right? So customer service is, I'll give you what you expect, and I'll have systems and procedures to make sure that we're as consistent as possible as an operation to deliver on that. Customer intimacy is what happens when I know you well enough to make recommendations. So I go, I know you love X, I think you'd therefore like Y. And when we look at things like Facebook and marketing retargeting, we're seeing technology coming together to help engender intimacy. We're seeing it with face recognition on bank branches. So you walk into a bank branch now, in one of the major ones, they've got face recognition technology on the branch, and what that means is it can scan your face and go, Sharon has net worth X. So the bank manager stands up, walks out and greets Sharon. Matt Church walks in and goes, yeah, you go over to the terminal over there. And so the technology is enabling us to have greater intimacy, and I think we're in this weird place at the moment, but with big data and gathering the knowledge, what we'll be able to do is make recommendations that interest people.
Yes.
So customer service, customer intimacy, but I think customer inspiration is where it's at. And for the food industry, I think this is where we're heading, which is let me take you to a place you didn't know you wanted to go.
Yes.
And a good example for me is the retailer T2. Who knew in a coffee culture that we would want tea that helps us sleep, or tea that helps our digestion, with a travelling cup or an exotic sort of Zen tea ceremony with it?
Yeah.
And so what they've done is they've created a category that inspires you to drink tea, which is almost like what's old is new again, right? It's like an old Chinese char house taking us through. So I think that when you ask people what they want, they tell you based on who you've been to them. And so this is the thing that every great marketer knows. If I ask my consumer, they'll give me the wrong answer. Kimberly Clark famously, if you look at a nappy box, it's all about dryness, right? So this is dry, that's dry, this is dry. And so they said, what do you think is really important in nappies? And obviously everybody being surveyed goes, dryness is really important, because that's the game that you've created for them. And what they did is they left the camera going, and one of the mums went, I don't care about dryness, I'm embarrassed that my son is in a nappy. And they created a pull-up as a multi-billion-dollar category by moving, they didn't give up dryness, but they were in the business of dryness, and now they're also in the business of shame. And they can put less product in a pull-up and charge more for it. So what's interesting is when you understand what business you're in for the end customer, you get the opportunity to adapt and thrive when everything around you is going through disruption and change.
Yes, yes. So thanks a lot for those words of advice. It's a very interesting time,
Thank you,
and
Sharon.
a great time to be in the industry of food, and to navigate all of these things between technology, meeting customers' needs, leading them to a better place.
Perfect.
Thanks, Matt.